Health insurance is one of the most but least discussed topic in India. It is so important that it should actually be taught in schools and colleges. But if you go and speak with a typical college student as to what they know about health insurance, this is the type of a typical response you would get.
No, I don't really have any idea about health insurances. My mom actually looks into all this stuff. I know it is important, but it all seems a bit daunting to me, and I really have no clue about health insurances.
So on today's video, I'm going to cover 3 specific points. Number 1, why do you need health insurance? Why is it critical to have health insurance? Number 2, what are some of the specifics in terms of buying health insurance? Because it is very complicated to buy health insurance. Third and finally, I will show you which insurance do I use and how I have bought that. Now, just a very quick disclaimer that I am not an insurance expert. I did a lot of background research to prepare this topic. Some of the details might be off. My primary research comes from speaking with my friends at Ditto, which is an online platform for simplifying insurance buying solutions. So let's get this video started. Just a very humble request that if you like these type of topics, please like and comment. That would indicate to me that you appreciate this type of content. Thank you so much, and let's get started. So let's first quickly talk about that why is it that you need health insurance. Let me explain this by narrating 2 very short anecdotes. So the first anecdote is about my neighbor. He is extremely rich. He is a property developer in Delhi and he makes insane amount of money. During this pandemic, several of his family members got COVID and they had to be hospitalized. Now this was the peak of the second wave of coronavirus, and you might also relate with this story that many people who were admitted in hospital ended up amassing massive amount of bill. So in his case, his family ended up spending 70 to 75 lakhs in terms of treatment, which even to a rich family is a huge amount. So the point that I want to drive home is very simple, that the world is getting more and more uncertain. There are new healthcare related challenges that are coming up and we don't know what kind of emergency expenses might amass. Now, if as a middle class or an upper middle class family, if you had to unfortunately go through such a situation, it can put immense stress on your entire family for even a generation to come. Now you might say, Akshat, that you know what, coronavirus was a one-off event. It happens once in every generation, so to say. And it has happened in our generation, so why should we even look and go buy a health insurance now? Which brings me to story or fact number 2. There were 151,000 people who passed away due to road accidents in India last year. These 151,000 people unfortunately passed away, but there would be a lot more number of people who would require hospitalization due to accidents. Now, situations like accident have the potential to wipe out the entire savings of your family. Now, you can make a lot of money in the stock market. I teach people how to make money in the stock market. I talk a lot about finance, how to grow money, how to save money. Now, imagine doing this for decades and all of this getting wiped out due to one single incident in your life. That is really physically and mentally jarring for anyone. Now, these 2 simple stories should narrate the value of buying insurance and why every single person in India should have a health insurance. Now, there are other peripheral reasons of buying insurance, so let me just quickly cover it. So, number 1, the cost of healthcare treatment in India is going up every year. India is actually becoming a big destination for medical tourism. More people are actually coming to India to get medically treated. At least this was the case before coronavirus. And this is going to become the case in a few years from now. So the point is that the cost of healthcare due to the increasing demand and increasing pressure on healthcare, it is going to go up. Now, if the costs are going up and if you're uninsured, then it can actually put again a lot of stress on you in terms of availing any medical treatment. Now, if you're convinced that buying a health insurance is actually the right step, which according to me, I highly advocate that you have a health insurance, then comes a series of questions. Which healthcare insurance should I buy? How much coverage should it have? Which hospitals would it cover? What type of diseases would it cover? Should I buy it for my entire family or should I buy it at an individual level? There are hosts and hosts of questions, and trust me, buying a health insurance is so complicated. It's so complicated that people get really bogged down in terms of the research. So let me break down this section into a Q&A format. So let me ask and let me go through some of the key questions or the most important questions that you need to be aware of before you are buying your insurance. So the first question is that, hey, should I buy health insurance just for me as an individual or for my entire family? So in my case, I'm an individual and I have a family of 3. So me, my wife, and my kid. Why am I not considering my parents? Because I am above 25 and I'm not dependent on my parents. So they would constitute as a separate family. So am I better off buying an individual health insurance for me? Or should I take one plan that covers all 3 members of my family? So the answer is that I should take a health insurance that covers all 3 pool of members of my family. And let me explain this via an example. So let's say that I take a cover of 20 lakhs for my family. And if one of the family members gets sick, they expense, let's say 8 lakhs, right? Then 12 lakhs are remaining. Now, if the second member also has to go through some kind of medical emergency, then the money from that 20 lakh can again be availed. So that's a 20 lakh cover for the entire family. On the flip side, if I'm buying insurance just for me, then I can't use that 20 lakh cover for my entire family. I can just use that 20 lakh cover just for me, right? So if you buy a health insurance that covers all 3 or 4 members or 5 members of your family, that entire pool of the money can be utilized by different family members. Now comes the second question, that how much cover should I take? Should I take a 10 lakh rupee policy, or should I take a 20 lakh or 30 lakh or 40 lakh or 50 lakh policy? What type of cover should I take? Now, cover essentially means, let me quickly explain that for example, if for some reason, like one of the members of my family has to get hospitalized and we end up spending 30 lakhs, right? And if my cover is only 10 lakhs, then I will be reimbursed only up to 10 lakhs because the cover that I had bought was only for 10 lakhs. So should I have taken a 30 lakh cover? Now let me discuss this point briefly. Now first and foremost, this really depends on your individual circumstances, your age, your health condition, number of family members, etc., etc. But my friend from Ditto, who is a specialist in terms of healthcare insurance, she told me categorically that people usually take a cover of 3 lakhs to 20 lakhs. That's the general range. Now it's needless to say that if you take a higher cover, you will have to pay higher premium every year. Just to share some numbers, for example, if you take a cover of 10 lakhs for a good insurance, then your premium amount will come out to be approximately 20,000 per year. But now you would say that, hey Akshat, you know what if a bad situation like coronavirus happens where people actually ended up paying 60 lakhs, 70 lakhs, 80 lakhs as hospital bill? What do I do then? I only have a cover of 10 lakhs. So in such a situation, you can actually adopt for a hybrid plan. Now, hybrid plan essentially means that you buy a base cover, for example, 10 lakhs, and then you take a top up. It is called a super top up. Companies term it differently. It's usually a top up, and you can buy a top up of 50 lakhs. So let's assume that you wanted an entire cover of 60 lakhs, buy a base cover of 10 lakhs, and buy a super cover of 50 lakhs. Now, in these hybrid plans where you're having a base cover and a super top up, you can buy the super top up separately. That's the first key advantage. And the second key advantage is that the super top up premium rates are actually on the lower side. So you actually end up saving money. For example, if you were to buy a 1 crore base cover, that would cost a lot more premium compared to you buying a 10 lakh base cover plus 90 lakh super top up. Now this might sound a little confusing, so you can check the links in the description box and you can schedule a call with people from Ditto and understand your own specific requirements and purchase a plan accordingly. But hopefully this small discussion should have given you an understanding of what type of base cover to take and what type of super top up to take in case you require that. Now comes a very important question, that what type of diseases and what type of facilities are covered under your health insurance. So you must be very, very mindful of this. Now, first and foremost, in general sense, I'm speaking generally here. It would depend on your plan and specific policy that you purchase. But generally speaking, if you're a healthy individual and if you're taking a healthcare insurance, then almost all the diseases are covered, right? From cancer to hypertension to diabetes, etc., etc. So if such a disease occurs after you have bought the health insurance, you will be covered by your health insurance. That is one. Hospitalization is generally covered, right? Day care is generally covered. Now, usually consultations with doctors where you're just going and speaking with a doctor and, getting that bill and getting it reimbursed. This is not covered on majority of the policies. So if this is important to you, please check with your policy provider. Second thing, sometimes people have special requirements. For example, I want to be treated only through homeopathy or I want to be treated only through Ayurveda. Now, these type of insurance also exist. So please identify whether these are your requirements or not. If these are, then buy a policy which matches with this. You must also check whether your health insurer provides domiciliary care, right? What that means is you might have heard that during coronavirus times, people were not getting beds in hospitals. So what they used to do was that they used to set up home ICUs. Now that used to cost a lot of money. That comes under domiciliary care, right? So you can actually just get treated from home. Now if a hospital is refusing you, if you have some emergency, you go to a hospital refuses you that, hey, you know what, we don't have any beds, go set up a home ICU, then whether your health insurance covers that or not. So domiciliary care, especially in regions where there is healthcare infrastructure shortage, it becomes very important and you must look at it before buying an insurance. You must look at room types, because what you might imagine is that, hey, I have bought a premium insurance. Now I'll get an executive suite in some hospital. Then you go and fight, right? Why am I not getting it? So that situation should not arise. Please check what type of rooms you will be eligible for if you're buying a health insurance from a certain provider. Now there is something called a sub-disease spent clause. Now what it essentially means is that, for example, if I'm buying a health insurance and that health insurance covers hypothetically speaking, 10 diseases, right? But that policy also indicates that, hey, you know what, if you get this particular disease, let's say a kidney transplant, we will only reimburse 5 lakhs. Right? Now that's a sub-disease clause spent, right? They are assigning a certain dollar value to that particular disease. So be very, very mindful, right? That you don't get into policies where this sub-disease clause is there, especially if you are prone or if your family is prone to such diseases, right? Because it might wipe you out. You might imagine that, hey, I've bought a very good insurance, it's 1 crore cover and everything, but check the sub-disease clause spent. That is a very, very important point for you to understand. So in summary, your healthcare insurance would have a bunch of clauses. So pay special emphasis on it, understand the terms, and only then buy the insurance. Now let me also quickly touch upon two very basic concepts here. One is around network hospitals. So essentially what happens is that if you buy an insurance from HDFC, now HDFC has a partnership with Apollo Hospitals. So Apollo Hospitals have a range of network, right? Now, if you buy the HDFC policy, you will get covered under the network hospital called as Apollo and bunch of other hospitals with which HDFC would have a tie-up with. So this is called as network hospital. Now, majority of the network hospitals offer something called as cashless facilities, right? Cashless facilities essentially means that while taking your treatment, you don't need to put up the entire amount. They might ask you for a little bit of security sometimes, but you don't need to put up the entire amount. Now, this is very different when you are getting treated at a non-network hospital. What happens at a non-network hospital is, in majority of the cases, you will have something called as reimbursement clause. Right? So you will be reimbursed. There is no cashless facility there, right? For example, if you have bought a policy X, a healthcare policy X, now you go to hospital ABC, you go there, you have some issue, and if that ABC hospital is not a network hospital of policy X, you will have to put up the entire amount upfront, right? In majority of the cases. So that can become a big headache. So before buying a healthcare policy, please check whether your insurer has enough number of network hospitals and they offer cashless facility, and what are the reimbursement rate and reimbursement clauses are like, right? So please be very, very mindful of these minute things, because you might go and invest a lot of money right now, and then, when the dire situation comes, that insurance might not be very useful or fruitful for you. Now, the final two things that I want to touch upon here is something called as co-payment clause, right? Co-payment clause means that, for example, sometimes at the time of selling insurance, your insurance agent might tell you that, hey Akshat, buy this policy, the premium is 20,000. But if you opt for co-payment option, we will give you a 10% or 20% discount on premiums annually. Now, what happens in co-payments plan is very simple. That, let's say that you go to a hospital, you had to get hospitalized, and the total bill comes out to be 1 lakh rupees. Right? If the total bill comes out to be 1 lakh rupee, your insurer will say that, hey, you opted for this co-payment option. Now you will have to pay 10% of the entire amount. We will only pay 90%. Therefore, it is called as co-payment, because both the parties are paying, right? So be very, very mindful of that. Now, don't go for a policy where there are co-payment options. Finally, you must take a look at the claim processing time and claim processing rates. Now, these days, almost all the major healthcare insurance providers have a very good claim processing rates. But they can really mess you up in terms of claim processing time. This is especially true in situations where you get reimbursed, where you put up the money first and then ask for reimbursement from your insurance provider. So please be wary in how much time do they process such reimbursements. So check all these points and then buy your insurance. I have tried to break it down. This is a super complex topic, and again a very quick disclaimer that these are points for your own understanding, for you to understand how to buy health insurance. What are some of the key points to keep in mind? But at the end of the day, do your own due diligence as well. Now finally, let me show you which health insurance am I buying and why. So I am buying HDFC Ergo, and this is the health insurance that I'm buying. If you go on Ditto, you will find all the good things simplified in a very simple manner. They have been doing a wonderful job in terms of bringing out financial news. You might have heard of FinShots, which is again a free platform for developing your financial acumen and financial knowledge. They are doing the same in the insurance space. So just give it a read. It's very easy to follow. What will be covered versus not. For example, you can see, I spoke earlier about that you can pick any room that you like. This is a very important concept. So this is important to me. You will never have to split the bill. So this is the co-payment option that I was explaining it to you earlier. You will have full coverage of disease. You will have pre and post hospitalization expenses and bunch of other things. You can read it up more. And finally, what is lacking here? So you can see that, hey, no cover for alternate medicines. Now I respect Ayurveda, homeopathy, etc. But I'm buying the health insurance to actually get covered for slightly more expensive emergency-like situations. So if I have to take homeopathy and Ayurveda, then probably it might not lead to a lot of expenses to begin with. So therefore, not having this feature is okay with me, right? So this is the option that I'm opting for. What is the cover that I'm taking? I'm taking a 20 lakhs cover. So I can actually go here. I can buy from Ditto, or I can speak with an executive, and then I can directly buy. So I'll buy a family plan. And then I'll fill out my information. I will finally get the hold of the premium and I will buy this policy. So this is how I would end up buying. Now very quickly, why am I buying this policy? So number one, I actually travel a lot outside India. I spend significant amount of time outside India. So I will have a separate insurance for traveling abroad, which I'll buy in that local country, right? I'll not buy that insurance from India. And I'll buy an Indian insurance. So I'm picking up the HDFC insurance because HDFC is a good brand. That's my personal opinion. I'm personally invested in a lot of stocks of HDFC. I've advocated investing in HDFC stocks. I believe in the firm. That's one. Second is that HDFC has a tie-up with Apollo. So whenever I'm in India, I spend most of my time in Delhi. So HDFC has a good network here. So that network hospital clause gets covered. So I can easily avail services here. That's two. And number three, I was told that the processing time for HDFC insurance is actually very good. So from that angle, it fits a lot of features that I'm looking for. And therefore, I'm buying this insurance. So I hope you found this video to be knowledgeable. I mean, I don't know whether this was enjoyable. It was a lot of complex work and complex understanding. But I hope I was able to simplify this really complex topic of buying a health insurance. Again, as a summary, please go and buy a health insurance. This is a necessary investment. If you speak with 10 people who understand finance, and if you ask them, should you be buying health insurance or not, I can guarantee you, they will all say that please buy a health insurance. Please buy the correct health insurance. It can actually save your life. Please like and comment, and please share this with your friends. I never ask you guys to share my videos, right? But this is one video that you should definitely look to share. The reason is very simple, that this can actually save people's life. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.